Hey guys, what's up? It's Sean, Autotopia LA, and to say I'm psyched doesn't quite say this. So one of my best pals, Ken Johnson, has been dealing with, dreaming of, making this car into a reality for over 5 years now. Over 5 years, almost as long as I've known him. So he brought together an incredible team of people to make this car happen, one of which is here today. So we've got guys like Ricardo, Customs by Lopez, all the paint and body on here. The wiring, our buddy Jason Scudellari from the Quarantine Cruise. Some real heavy-hitting people involved on this car, TMI on the interior. But our buddy Rob from RJ Fabrication, if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you've seen a couple videos with Rob, most notably the one where I semi-pissed my pants in the Ford Ranger. Oh shit, dude. Come on.
You good, dude? You're good.
I think I just pissed myself.
No, you're fine.
We got Rob from RJFab here today, and Rob's gonna walk us through what was done on this. And then after we're done doing that, when it's time to go for a drive, you better believe we're getting my buddy Ken Johnson in the car. We're gonna go spin some tires. So let's start off with introducing, if you haven't met him before, with my friend Rob, and talk about the build of this car.
Always good, dude.
Always
good to see us. Yeah, hell yeah, man.
By the way, you guys, we went to lunch just a little while ago, and you were like, "Been a while. I don't know if I'm gonna remember."
Yeah, I may forget some stuff. We do so much. Like sometimes I forget, and I don't turn all the wheels at the shop.
Right.
There's no way I could do that. So I have just a talented, good crew of guys. They make stuff happen for us. Like I had to try to remember what gears were in this thing. It's been a while, so I remember. Did we have 411? Did we have 356? I can't remember.
Right.
Which is a 373, by the way. But yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I know a little bit about this car, but I know it wasn't like an already bitchin' Nova to start with, was it?
It was a custom Nova already.
Okay.
And I don't know who first built it. I know Ken does. It already had a supercharger on it. Okay. Had a small tire on the back, so it just wasn't hooking at all. Not that this will even hook up, but this hooks better than it did with the smaller tire. It was a cool custom car. It just had a lot of room for improvement. And so we went through and did that.
Why don't we pop the hood and we'll start there with what's happening engine-wise, and then we can kind of find our way through all the suspension and all the other elements.
Just clean and simple. You know?
It is very clean and simple.
LS3, 418 cubic inch. And then it has the same supercharger that it had when it was just a stock LS.
Got it.
And then we put a smaller supercharger pulley on it so that we can up the boost on it. And so we're slowly creeping up on how much horsepower we want to make with this thing. I think right now we're right at the 600 horsepower at the wheel range. Last time we changed pulley ratios was the pulleys on the rear with the cog belt. And then I think we're gonna go a little bit smaller on the front. It's a street car. He just wants to cruise it around, goof off a little bit, and just put a smile on his face. That's the point.
I mean, I know you guys build entire vehicles, but like, is all the metal work in here? Is this all you guys do?
Yes.
The clean up to it all and all the fab work?
Yeah, it had no inner fenders, if I remember correctly, when we first got it. We just wanted to make it look different than other engine compartments, and that's getting hard to do. There's a lot of super amazing engine compartments out there, so we just wanted something simple and clean, and I think we achieved that 100%. You got the engine, but you have nothing on the fenders. This was the last piece we made, was this closeout right here, just to close out the area where you can see the top of the intercooler and the top of the transmission cooler, stuff like that. Everything with it flows together to me, just looks so good. So we made these custom tanks. One's the radiator overflow, one's the intercooler tank. And I just wanted to shape them so that they fit in there, kind of like an extension of the radiator into the inner fenders. And then we put a nice big K&N underneath with a splash guard. Like, these aren't the type of cars that you drive in the rain most of the time. You know?
Right.
So it's got a big splash guard in case you run over a puddle or something. It keeps water off the air filter, but it's pulling nice fresh air from this area inside here out of the engine compartment. So
I love the subtle touch, you know, of the coloring matching all the fittings.
And that's all Ken.
Yeah,
Ken is like, oh man, we need to Cerakote the supercharger and do the valve covers. And sometimes I'm against things, you know, because I can get into my niche of what I like.
Sure.
And Ken helped pull me out of that a little bit. Like, Ken's like, no, Rob, I think it's really gonna look good. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'm not sure.
No,
sure enough, then I love it. Of course,
it's
Detroit Speed Engineering, all front suspension. We did a Unisteer rack and pinion. And then in the rear, we have Detroit Speed Engineering links and their wheel tubs, except that's where it stopped. I decided, because I think you could fit a 305 wide tire with a DSE wheel tub.
And you wanted to go much bigger.
But yeah, I wanted a 345 because I told Ken, I said, I don't know of any Novas that are unitized body still that have a 345 tire on the back. So we made a template of the frame rail and laser cut that we cut the outer portion of the frame rail off and put our laser cut piece on the inside and then just box and plated that. So it's still a unitized body, but we gained 2 inches of wheel clearance.
Wow, man.
And so that's how we fit the 345/30/19. And then I just stretched the DSE wheel tub a little bit wider, installed that, did a custom floor in the rear.
So this car's had a lot of metal work.
It's had quite a bit of metal work,
Yeah.
Just to get all that stuff in there and get rid of the leaf springs and stuff. So
Yeah.
But the DSE arms, they fit like it's such a good. I think it's the Quadrolink, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then a turn 9 Curry rear end in it. We just went over the 373 gears.
Right.
And it has either a Strange S-Track or a Detroit True Track. I can't remember which one we put in this car.
Yeah.
Both work the same. I think the S-Track's slightly stronger because of billet components versus the regular forged component of a True Track, of an Eaton True Track.
Got it. What does it go transmission in this car?
So it has a 4L80 transmission, and that's the one thing we didn't touch. Came with the car, has the same converter and same transmission. We may play with converters pretty soon. Aeromotive fuel system. Aeromotive's super good to us, so we have their pumps and their regulator. All the lines on this thing, we already planned for E85. So it has all Teflon lines on it, so we can go straight to
so you
E85.
can convert easily.
Exactly. I always look at it like fuel tank's the best way to explain it. If I'm gonna build a fuel tank for somebody, I'm gonna set that fuel tank up for any possible scenario. Multiple outlets, baffling, you can reduce down.
Yeah.
But you can't go bigger.
Yeah. So. No, I like how you think through things ahead of time, knowing like serviceability, things, you know.
Yeah, it's critical.
Just all the elements like that. What about brakes on the car? What's the setup there?
Bare brakes, 6 piston calipers on the front, 14-inch rotors on the front, 14-inch rotors in the rear. I can't remember if there's 6 or 4 in the back. And then wheel and tire combination, tons of people want to always know about that. So we have a 345/30/19 tire on Budnick 19 by 12 inch wide wheels in the rear. And we have 10 inch in the front. I think it's like a 275/40.
And 19 also
18.
up front?
Nope, 18. I like to stagger. I like to do like a 1918 or a 2019. I don't know why I like doing that. I think it looks sexy.
Dude, I'm with you too. I swear I love the staggered look. I really do. Is it a manual brake?
It is manual brake, no boost. Yeah. So it doesn't have Hydro Boost on it or a vacuum assisted boost.
Got it.
That's one cool thing about pedal ratios. If you do the pedal ratios correctly and you run the right size master cylinder, it's just simple hydraulics. You can have every bit as much power on your braking system.
You can.
Without a booster or a Hydro Boost. Yeah, you can.
So I've heard that having lived through brake failure, right?
Yes.
That you have much less chance of any form of brake failure with manual brakes versus a boosted brake, especially on LS.
I'm not 100% sure about this, but it is one component out of the equation that you have to worry about or maintain or something to go wrong, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Especially the Hydro Boost. Hydro Boost is more complicated using the power steering pump. I know it has a little nitrogen cylinder on it, but I'm not sure with the Hydro Boost, if you lose a belt, I don't know how many pumps you have on the pedal with that power left, on the nitrogen cylinder.
So what's some of the other metal stuff? Like, did you guys tuck bumpers? Did you?
We did it, and there's some future stuff that we're gonna do. Like, we really wanted to do some sort of front splitter on this thing. And I'm not sure what direction Ken wants to go. I think we're kind of close to the same page. Not something big and giant and obtrusive looking, because the rest of the car isn't like that.
No, it's not.
So something subtle and small, but just to help. Like an air dam, nice air dam.
Bring the front end down
exactly.
a little bit. Yeah.
As far as body modifications, the only thing that we ended up doing really to the main portion of the body is the fender wells were rotted out. And so we ended up cutting those off, stretching the fender well just a tiny bit. And I opened this up a little bit, Sean, just a hair. And I'd have to look at pictures, remember, but it was probably an inch back and an inch forward, just to give that tire the proper gap that it needed front and rear to have that taller wheel and tire combination on there. If we're doing a tubbed out car or doing inner wheel tubs, we'll take the inner piece and bring it flat all the way to the edge of the quarter panel here so it doesn't roll soon on the inside. And then we'll actually hand form another piece that spot welds on the inside that's just like a factory did. It's not just sealed off on the edge of the body. It actually comes and comes down. There's like an 1/8 inch gap in another panel that mirrors this or mimics this part all the way to the outside of that quarter panel. And that's how you can get the big tire to cycle all the way up and not interfere, not hit anything, but have it completely sealed off so that you don't get a bunch of tire smoke inside the car, during burnouts and having fun and things like that.
This is all stuff that we don't get to actually see, right?
Yeah, you don't really get to see it. It's just those things that you do that nobody sees but makes a big difference on how the car functions, drives.
Right.
Like the floor of this car was gorgeous. and then it just got covered in Dynamat. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, dang it,
Yeah,
but it is what it is. So how the fuel tank mounts has 3 bolts in the front, but we built these receiver puck groove pieces on the aluminum tank. And so the back of the tank just slides up into those, and then you got your 3 fasteners on the front. And so unless you pull the tank out, that's another one of those little cool things that nobody ever sees.
Yeah.
It's buried under, we did it before we finished the floor. You can never even get to it now,
Yeah.
unless you cut it apart. I don't know, there's tons of things like that.
It's just funny to me with you guys, dude, I go to a lot of shops, right? So I see stuff in progress, and then you see that vehicle later when it's all put together like this, and you're like, dude, they don't get to see that part where you spent 1,000 friggin' hours on it,
That's why bringing a car ready to disassemble for paint and powder coat is one of my favorite ways to bring a car to a show, because people get to see what's going on underneath all the, the beautification of it. And I like knowing that someday somebody might be under the dash or cutting something apart and like, geez, how'd they do that?
These guys really went all in on
were
this,
out of control.
didn't they? Yeah.
It's just fun. I think it's fun to do it that way.
Yeah. Is the trunk finished out like the rest of the car?
Yeah, upholstered inside the trunk. I think.
Can we pop the trunk, dude? So all the great stuff that's hidden, it's hidden under really nice upholstery?
I would imagine, yeah.
No, this looks really clean though. This matches all the rest.
Yeah, TMI did a great job. Like, I know TMI does some badass stuff.
No, they do great stuff. We've shot a lot of vehicles with them where it's like, it kind of looks like a one-off custom interior, but it's nowhere near the cost of a one-off custom, And
we always hide the battery here in the back behind this. And then I think Jason put the fuse box back in here, so it's not up underneath the dash. It's in the back right here.
So it's super easy accessible.
Easily accessible, and it just kind of unclutters underneath the dash.
Is there more mechanical stuff that we didn't touch on?
I mean, we redid the cage. The subframe connectors are what we already had underneath the car. I think we just tied our cage into those subframe connectors. We used the headers that he already had. They were in really nice shape, and they were stainless ones already. And we used the front portion of the exhaust, but to go up around the axle and do what we need to do, we made the back.
That's all you guys do with that.
Yeah. But the majority of the surgery on this car was all in the rear end of tucking those tires, but keeping a unitized body and tying it in with the roll cage.
And is the rear end narrowed at all or no?
Well, it would be narrowed per what a stock Nova rear end width would be. Yeah, probably about 3 inches per side would be my guess, without going back and looking up the exact
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along with the tubbing, that's what allows you to create the wider tires that you have to take some of the rear end off to.
Yep. You don't necessarily have to narrow the rear end if you don't offset the wheels as much, you know what I mean? So, but you don't get that deep dish look. So we like to run a lot of negative offset on the wheels, and so you want that nice deep dish look.
Right.
And so that's why you narrow the rear end also. That's one of the reasons. So you can get this big of a wheel tire if you did the tubs and everything and probably have a stock width rear end, but it will look like a front wheel on the back, if that makes sense.
That's part of what creates the ability to have that big deep dish going on.
And that's what looks so cool, I think, is the dish and the wheel.
And then you guys threw a grab brake on this thing as well, right?
Yeah, so we were out visiting our friends, the DeBertis, and so sure enough, Ken, and I didn't even know, or I knew, but I just didn't think about Ken's heritage, and so he wanted a samurai sword in there too.
Right.
It's just so cool. And the funniest part about it is, when we were flying back, he has that in his carry-on. And I thought for sure they were going to confiscate it. And
yeah.
So Ken had to take it out. I remember I was laughing because he's trying to explain to the guy, well, yeah, it's a handbrake.
It's not really a sword.
Yeah, it's just for a car, Ken can persuade people to do stuff.
He's very good at persuading.
The powers of persuasion, yeah.
This is true. This is why we drove out to Temecula today instead of him driving out to our shop.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, he's a selfless guy, does so much for everybody else.
Well, that's for sure, dude. Kindig handles?
Kindig handles, yep, which Lopez installed all that stuff. I think when it left our shop, it had factory door handles at the time.
See, I like how I love how Ken tied in all the gold
He's
Cerakote.
just really good with
the color
colors.
of it's good though. It's not
did a really
too
good job.
bright. It's wow, dude, the cage work looks bitchin' in here.
Yeah, so we did a new idea column. All the steering's new. Every U-joint for the steering, like I said, the rack and pinion. Brake systems, every line on this car is new. Every brake line, they're all stainless steel brake lines.
Yeah.
All AN fittings throughout. The Holley LCQ screen, that's an amazing piece. All
Killer.
Holley stuff is, super cool. So.
Just cool. This interior came out amazing. I mean,
it really did.
It's like seeing even the color of the stitching and
They upgraded the seats to, I think, a seat that is more bolstering, like it holds you in better, more like a race car seat.
Yeah.
Versus the first initial seats this car had.
These are great.
And then Ken got all the handles, and I think he had Jason wire in the power windows. It looks like a crank, but you just push up or push down on it. So that's kind of neat.
I love those. And I actually really like, first time I ever noticed that it still has its wind wings.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, you go this custom, may as well go to a one-piece glass, cut all this out.
And we do that modification, but there's something about the wind wings in specific cars that just
look great.
Yep.
I think it would look weird without that.
I agree, yep.
Dude, this is one of those things you do that I absolutely love. You bring the cage way down here.
Just easier ingress and egress. It isn't a full race car.
Right.
We do add a lot of rigidity by having that there, and it does have a full cage in it, so it's considerably safer.
I love the whole setup here, and it does have AC in here, right?
Yes.
It's so funny, I've seen this from the outside, but this grab brake is friggin' massive, dude. Don't you oftentimes with a drift brake put a separate caliper on?
You can. So they have dedicated handbrake systems where it has its own master cylinder and reservoir for the turning brake handle, and you can run a dedicated set of calipers to the rear. This system's in line. So as the brake line comes from the master cylinder, instead of going straight back to the rear wheels, it goes up into the handbrake, then comes out of the handbrake, and then splits off to the rear wheels. So you're just operating the actual rear brakes that stop the vehicle all the time, the full duty for that.
The rear only by grabbing that.
Yep, only by grabbing that.
And something else we talked about, I know you were mentioning the exhaust. Didn't you say it's Black Widow mufflers?
Black Widow mufflers, yep.
Yeah. They are loud.
It is a loud car.
I'm convinced Black Widow went out and measured sound on every other muffler out there and went, yeah, we got to one-up.
Yeah, we just increase the decibel.
Got to be louder than all of them.
Yeah.
Cool car, man. It's been fun. You know, I'm sure, dude, for you too, you've known Ken a lot longer than I have. To watch how he's pulled everything together, friends, sponsorships, you know, all the different stuff to build a car that, what, 300 grand somewhere in that neighborhood?
Around that, yeah.
Probably.
It would land there. You know Ken. He's one of the most selfless guys on the planet. And
100%, man.
He is an expert at connecting people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If you need something, he may not know, but he knows a guy that knows, and he will put you together. So we hook Ken up.
No, I love it. Like everyone came in and really did. I mean, Ricardo, the paint and body on this car is beautiful.
Yes.
You know, Jason to do the wiring. I know it doesn't get more anal than Jason. Might match how anal he is, but he ain't.
No, he put the right people together.
Seriously, the right people. And everybody went all in on it. And now we got the BoostedNova.
Totally.
Bitchin'.
I'm honored to be one of those guys he chose.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, I say it when you're standing right here and when you're not. You are, in my opinion, one of the best out there. There's a lot of people that can do fit and finish work and make a beautiful looking car, and that's great. There's artistry in that for sure. In my opinion, there's less and less people out there that build a great looking car that you can also safely rip the shit out of it down the road, and it's gonna hold up. It's gonna, like, you build stuff so that you can drive it how you like to drive.
Well, it needs to be functional.
Yeah.
100%, it's got to be functional.
Yeah.
And it's not just me, man. Like I've said 100 times, and I mean it.
Yeah.
It's the team.
I get it.
want to make sure my team knows how much I appreciate them.
Totally get it, man. Yeah. Well, dude, if there's nothing mechanical that we haven't left out, then we should kick you out the door, send you back to Hesperia.
Good old Hesperia.
Get the great Ken that we've all been talking about here. Get Ken in, and me and Ken will go for a little rip around the hood.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time out today, dude. I know it's
always.
a bit of a cruise for you to come over here.
I love doing it. You have the best YouTube car channel, period.
I love that.
It's
I love
awesome.
that. We're going to say goodbye to Rob. We're going to get Ken to jump in here with us, and we're going to go tool around the neighborhood a little bit. First ride in BoostedNova, dude. So you've driven the car now, what'd you say, almost 1,500 miles? How long has it been done for to where you've been actually able to drive it down the road? It hasn't been that long.
We got it done, not this last SEMA, but the SEMA before, and we were able.
It wasn't really driving yet. I mean, it was.
Yeah, and it's still, when it's done, it's not going to be done, right? What hot rod is done? So.
Yeah. Wow, it sounds great. And by the way, a couple things we didn't really get into when I was interviewing Rob. The TMI interior, I thought they were just go online, buy their product, and then you install it yourself. But you were saying this is like them launching their custom shop?
I don't think it's launched yet, but so Ross Berlanga over at TMI him and I came to an agreement and said, hey, you know what? I needed interior in the Nova. And Ross has said, you know what? I've got a program for you. I got something for you. And we came together, and this is what you see now with this distressed blood red interior. And this is, one of the newest materials that they have. And I was originally going to go with like black and gray. I mean, black and gray is traditional.
Yeah.
And he's like, Ken, I've got the perfect thing for you. And next thing you know, this is where we're at.
Holy shit. This car gets down. I love listening to Rob talk about, it's only about 600 at the tire right now. That's a lot. Jesus, dude. Wow. This thing rips.
It's all right. We're really happy. I just wanted something that would be fun, reliable, and
You're so I love how mellow you are, dude. You're so All right, you've got the oh shit face like 3 or 4 times out of me so far. So far, in the 1,500 miles you got on it, are you stoked?
oh, of course, man. This is like a dream come true, right? Having Ricardo, Customs by Lopez, Rob, RJFab, my buddy Jason, help with the wiring. Obviously, everyone around that came together to help me. It's pretty incredible. Like, there's no way I can afford this. Not possible, right? I'd have to sell everything, right? And so for me to be able to have something like this is, man, I can barely even speak about it. It's just crazy.
Yeah, totally. The car just sounds nasty. I mean, it just sounds pissed off. This feels amazing to me. I mean, sitting in the passenger seat, feeling it, how it's dealing with bumps. We're driving down shitty California roads. It's not just breaking loose on you, like it's gripping and going.
Rob, he's like, hey Ken, we have to put 345s on, right?
I love that, by the way.
Seeing, people are out there with 295s or 275s.
Oh yeah.
And again, I feel like that tire grip, we got really sticky Toyo R888s in the back, so I think that helps, and
big time.
Plus the Detroit speed, suspension has a lot to do with everything. So you feel when we get on it, the back end squats, we go forward, right? And so it's grabbing, right?
No, it's hooking for sure.
Coming from the off-road world, for me, suspension and traction is everything, and I feel like with what we have right now with the great Detroit Speed Kit 3, quadrant-link rear, the Curry turn 9 rear end, as well as just, I feel like this car is set up right. I feel like we're going to get a little bit more power. We're searching and we're going to grab more power, but man, right now I'm really happy with what we have.
Are you having fun with it? Like, you're not feeling like a lack of power, are you?
I'm not bummed. I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, we always want more, but man, I'm not pissed off. I'm not bummed. I really love what Rob built, and especially for my baby budget that I had. Like, he did an amazing job. I'm not the richest guy out there, right? And I'm just a regular dude. And so for me to have this car, I'm at a loss for words at how awesome this car is. I had Rob set my idle low because I wanted it to sound good, sound
Perfect,
lopey,
sitting right around in the 700, little over 7. It sounds cammed.
Yeah, well, it is cammed, but it just sounds, want to really sound cammed, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Like some lows are freaking mountains.
I love that Holly dash too.
The 12.3, the guys at Holly, that's just such a great partnership with those guys. And going out to LS Fest again, and we got to bring her out there last year. So we're excited to go back out there again, LS Fest West.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to go to LS Fest East.
You know how it is when you sit in a car for a minute and you kind of look around, and I keep looking around in this interior, and they really did a beautiful job on this.
So
Those
Tio,
guys really did.
Dwayne, and Ross, those guys, came together, and again, my original thought was black and gray, and I mean, with all the different designs they did, and just like a, custom center console they did for it. You'll see the rear seat delete. We put a little box in the back, so that way and it matches the whole interior.
And this car doesn't need a back seat. I mean, the cage would have made it impossible to have one that was functional.
So the Bear 6Ps, man, the guy Tim, man, that's another guy that really came on and supported, and Bears, owned by Holly now. And,
they are also.
Yeah, I love the Bears, and they were able to color match my calipers to like all my burnt bronze. So
it all looks so bitchin'
yeah.
color matched like that.
Yeah.
Bringing it in here on the interior, it's just slick, man.
Yeah. That was probably the hardest I got on it.
Is it? I really like your car, dude.
I didn't think it was going to spin the tires like that, but...
Dude, you're making over 600 horsepower at the tire. My God, I mean...
Well, they're really big, dude, so yeah. That's pretty good.
Most people, dude, in my opinion, don't respect how much that really is. We've gotten numb to it. I mean, you can go buy a Hellcat that makes 707 stock at the crank horsepower, Buy a Demon 840. I mean, Rob and his crew are friggin' amazing. They make great looking shit, but they make shit that's built to drive hard.
Rob is a fantastic builder. He's one of the best out there.
I think he's one of the best.
I'm really just stoked to be able to be friends with him, and it's incredible that he was able to do my car, and then Customs by Lopez was able to work with Ricardo and his crew, and even Jason, Week2Wicked. We're partners on the crews, and I can't leave out Patrick. Patrick was a big part of helping this build come together. Alex, Aeromotive, Vintage Air, so many people, TMI, the guys at Budnick, just so many people were involved in this build, and I'm just blessed to have people around me like you, right? Inspiration. Same with Chris Marichal, because of Vicious Mustang, that inspired me, and Devious Mustang, right? And I guess it's all about raising the tide, right? And man, I always feel like, hey, you know what? People help me raise my tide, right? And float me up, and I always want to try and do the same.
Yeah. Well, man, to say that was a long time coming doesn't quite say it, but what a blast after seeing Ken dealing with this car for such a long time, to finally see it out at shows, starting to come to life, but now to get to ride down the road in this thing. This car is wonderful. I hope you guys enjoy this one half as much as I do, because I think they built a really, really wonderful car, and I'm stoked to see my buddy Ken having such a good time with it. So, as always, you guys, a big thanks for hanging and watching what we do, and I will see you in the next episode. All right, man. Later.